So, welcome again, and we will start now by reviewing what we did in the last class, and then move on to the next class. Next, what we have to cover this time. So, main thing that I said last time was Suptingantam Padam. Okay, first this is where it started. What does it mean? It's a Panini Sutra, and a sutra, I said, is characterized by primarily brevity. Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, Saravat, Vishwato Mukham, Astobham. Yeah, you want it bigger? Okay. Just 1 second. Better? Okay? All right. So, Saravat, Vishwato Mukham, Astobham, Anavadyancha, Sutram, Sutravido, Viduhu. So, as I said, Alpaksharam means it's very brief. Brevity is the main thing. Asandigdham, even though brief, there is no room for confusion. There is no room for ambiguity. Saravat, it's full of content. There's no extra. It's only the juice, only the content. Vishwato Mukham, any word interpreted in any way in the sutra should make sense. You cannot have a situation where a word interpreted one way makes sense, interpreted another way doesn't make sense. That's not allowed. Every word should make sense in every possible way it can be interpreted. Then, Astobham. Astobham means there is no, like I gave the example of what is Stobha. In Samaveda you have this ha, u, ha, that ha, and all that is Stobha. So we don't need any of that in a sutra because brevity is the most important factor. Then Anavadyam means it's perfect. You cannot find any mistake in the sutra. That's how it is. Such a thing is called a sutra. So we took the first example I gave sutra, Panini Sutra, was Supting Antam Padam. This is what is called as a Sanya Sutra. It's defining the word Pada. So the word Pada is what? That which ends in, so that's what I have put here. A Padam is that which ends in a Sup or Ting Pratyaya. So Supanta is Subanta. This is when the Pakara and Akara joins, it becomes Ba. So we will see all that later. But this is just for those of you wondering why Supanta becomes Subanta. There's a rule which causes that to happen. So Subantam Padam are all words ending in the Sup Pratyaya, and those are what we would call in English as nouns. Then Tingantam Padam is those words which end in a Ting Pratyaya, and those are called verbs. Now, how are verbs formed? In general, we said Tingantam Padam is always, you may or may not have an upasarga, right? A prefix, but then you will always have a dhatu, and then there may be some other pratyayas. Don't worry about this right now. And then there is a Ting Pratyaya, because you can see where is the Ting Pratyaya? It's at the end. So Tingantam, that word which ends in a Ting Pratyaya is what is called as a Tinganta Pada. That's a word. Subanta, exactly similar, except that instead of a dhatu, you'll have a pratipadikam in the beginning. And that pratipadikam, you add some pratyaya, and then finally you add a supratyaya. So that which ends in a supratyaya will be called a Subantam Pada. Okay? So there's a very broad variety of words in the language, right? Which include Tadhita, Samasa, which are formed by operations on these basic building blocks. Subanta and Tinganta Pada only. But you do some other gymnastics with them and you'll get variety of words, which we covered to some extent last time. We did some Tandita examples. I will go over it again later, but not right now. Yes, sir. Oh, just have to hit that keyboard, somebody. Just touch that keyboard. Should be okay. It'll come. No? Okay. Check the remote. See if it's got. My computer, it came back. Yeah. Probably because it went, it tried to look elsewhere. It will come back. It's just that somebody has to touch that keyboard now and then, or we have to check its screensaver, I think. Yeah. Sorry, we had a small situation here. The display was not showing on the projector for the people in the classroom. Okay. So we went over some words, like I think the last time I gave the examples of, Dasharathi, saying son of Dasharatha, or we took the word Arsha, which means Rishehedam Arsham. The meaning of this our Gurukulam, Arsha Vidya Gurukulam, that Arsha came from Rishi Sambandhi is Arsha. Then, you have lot of words like this. Actually, your whole day-to-day business is filled with this kind of words. For example, even in Hindi, if you want to talk of the color violet, what do you say? You'll say bangani. That bangan is a brinjal, an aubergine. It has a color, and the color which is related to the color of a bangan, of a brinjal, is called bangani, right? So it's just, or you would say leaf green. You'll say something is leaf green, but instead of saying leaf green, if I just said leafy, and if you understood that to be green, that would be tadhita. Okay. Samasa is where you have two different nouns which coalesce, right? So, for example, I said Ravana. I want to say he is the one who has 10 necks. So, we'll say Dasha Kantha. 10 is one word, Dasha. Kantha is a second word. So, Dasha Kantha will give you a compound word which means one who has 10 heads. Okay. But when I did Dasharathi, what's the difference? There are no two words there. Dasharatha is the only word. It becomes Dasharathi, and we know it's Dasharatha's son. So the beauty in a Tadhita is it's one single word, all right. But you do something to it, and with that you know what's the relationship it is expressing with what. For example, we say Dhanavan. Dhanavan comes from what? Dhanavat. Dhanavat means what? What means one who has. So Dhanavat means one who has. So that's an example of a Tadhita. So in Tadhita, there are no two nouns coming together. There is one noun whose relationship with something else is expressed by a simple pratyaya. So you don't see a second noun in there. You just see a vikara of the first noun. Sundara means what? Nice, beautiful. Saundaryam means the quality of being beautiful. Beauty is the word. Qualitative noun is formed by making Saundaryam. So this, again, you can see there's only one word, Sundara. It took a pratyaya and became Saundarya. Whereas with Dasha Kantha, what did we see? Two words, Dasha Kantha. Right? Yes.
So, what is the difference between this declension Pratipadikam and Tadhita? It's more or less.
Okay. The question here in the hall was, what's the difference between a declension of a Pratipadikam and a Tadhita? Let me explain this very clearly. I said first, everything is Suptingantam Padam, which means Tadhita is also a special case of Subanta only. It's a flavor within Subanta. Rama is a plain Subanta word where you don't have a Tadhita business. When you say Dasharathi, it's a Tadhita word. When you say Saundaryam, it's a Tadhita word. When you say Dashakantha, it's a Samasa. But none of them are gone away from being Subanta. They all end with Sup, which means, what is a Sup? That is the declension endings. Sup is the declension endings. Okay? So every ending that you see is a Subanta ending. So there is no problem with that. So you have only verbal endings or noun endings. Verbal endings are called Tinganta and Ting, and noun endings are called Sup. So that which ends in noun endings is called a Subanta Padam. That which ends in verb endings is called a Tinganta Padam. Okay? So Tadhita, Samasa, Kridanta, all these are variations of Sup. In Tinganta you have only one. You have those 10 lakaras. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. In that sense, Tinganta is simpler. It's complex in a lot of other ways, but it's simple in that one sense. Okay? Alright. So, now there is one thing, there are a couple of clarifications which I wanted to give. Now, I had a question from somebody over the week that, when you say Suptinganta is Pratyaya, when you say Sup Pratyaya, how do we get 18 to the 24 forms? How is it possible that we get 24 with one Pratyaya? No. Sup is not the name of a single Pratyaya, but Sup is the name for a collection of Pratyayas. There are 24 Pratyayas in all. And Sup just happens to be a short form, a shorthand way of referring to the collection or a set of 24 Pratyayas. In fact, 21, that's why I mentioned it here. It's a short name to refer to 7 into 3 equal to 21 Pratyayas, which are added after a noun base, a Pratipadikam. But the 3 Pratyayas that get added after a vocative case, the Sambodhana, are variations of the Prathama. So we don't count them as 24. See, I'm getting you used to 24, but I want you to actually think 21, all right? Because in the first place, it's easier to look at as 24. So that's the first level of understanding. But I don't want you to go away thinking there are 24 pratyayas. No, there are 21. because there are only 7 into 3. Eighth one is considered to be a special case of the first case. The vocative is a special case of the first case. All right? Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. The question here is this: how do I identify a word as a tadhita? That question will probably never be answered completely as a grammar rule, but with reading, with some experience, you will be able to spot tadhita. I will give you indications which will help you. Okay, we will not go into it right now, but we will go into it later, definitely. Okay. All right. Then. So that's one thing. And secondly, just because I got that question for soup, I want to extend the understanding thing also. The thing is not again a single pratyaya, but thing is a name, a shorthand name given to a set of 18 pratyayas. Okay? And those 18 pratyayas together constitute what is called as thing. The set of 18 is called thing. Okay? And that will give you, the 18 together will give you all the forms of all the verbs in all the lakaras. So there are 2200 dhatus. There are a total of 10 lakaras. And if you add the Vedic, which is called late lakara, then we have 11 lakaras or tenses and moods. So, and each lakara we saw there are nine forms, right? So, and we have two things, which is called Atmanepada and Parasmanepada. We haven't done that yet. We'll get there later. But every single form of every verb will be covered by exactly these 18 Tinganta pratyayas. Okay? Of these 18, the first 9 correspond to the Parasmanepada and the second 9 correspond to Atmanepada. Don't worry about what is Parasmanepada, what is Atmanepada right now. I will cover that later. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about the details right now. Understand that there are a total of 18 pratyayas, okay, which apply to all the lakaras. All right? There will be modifications based on lakara, based on certain situations. Don't worry about it right. Because I want you to just get some basic understanding. What am I trying to clarify here? If you understand this much, that thing is not one single fellow sitting there. Thing is a short name given for a set of 18 pratyayas. If you understood that much, I am happy. Okay? That's all I need you to understand. And Sup is not one, but a set of 21 pratyayas. Clear? Okay. Yes. Those are Panini, Sup and Thing are Paninian terms, and they just are short forms. You will understand all of this. None of these is going to be left unexplained. See, right now, let me tell you what I'm trying to do, okay? I told you last time also, I did not start with the aksharas. Why? There's a simple reason. If I want you to start getting engaged in this class, okay, and be able to read and start making sense of things, then you don't need to know the alphabet, like every single, how it's pronounced, what's going on, etc. right now. You will need it to do sandhis, but you don't need it immediately. So I want people to get to a point where you understand what's a basic verb, what's a basic noun, what is Rama Shabda, what is Hari Shabda, what's a pronoun. Once you have this basic understanding and you're able to start making and understanding simple sentences, you have something to keep working on. Okay? Then what I will do is I'll take one class and use 1 hour to introduce the alphabet. So that we will always have some language progress happening, and we will also try to build upon what we have to build up. So I'm changing the sequence of things so it's something which is more conducive for people to continue to learn without too much coming at one point. Okay? So all the details you're asking me, how do I identify Taddhika, how do I get the forms, all these things will be answered in due course. Okay? Okay. So that's all I wanted to say about Sup and Tingantam. Then, this is another thing which we went over last time. In a Tinganta pada, in a sentence, what happens? A Tinganta pada, that is a verb, denotes or tracks a Subanta pada. Right? That is, the Vachana, which is the number, of the Tinganta pada. Okay. See, the thing is this, the reason I don't want to raise it is people can read ahead. I want you to look at what I want to show you. Okay. I can't magnify it any further, I guess. Okay. You, you can't see the whole thing too? Okay, let's see. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm saying, what is Tinganta Pada now? I mean, sorry, what is, in a sentence what happens? A Tinganta Pada, as I said, denotes or tracks a Subanta Pada. Okay? That is, the Vachana, the number of the Tinganta Pada will always agree with the Vachana and number of Subanta Pada. This Subanta Pada which a Tinganta Pada tracks can be only one of two things. Okay? This is what I want you to understand very, very clearly. In a sentence, a verb which is a Tinganta Pada will track a noun. Okay? But that noun can be only one of two things. What are the two things? One is the agent of the action indicated by the dhatu. Okay? For example, if you say Ramaha gacchati. Gacchati is a Tinganta Pada. Okay? Now that gacchati is tracking what? It is tracking Ramaha. And Rama here happens to be the agent of the action of Gamana Kriya. Gacha is walk. Gam dhatu. That Gam dhatu means what? Movement. To walk. To move. Right? Who is the mover of the, who is the person who is the agent of moving? Happens to be Rama. So Ramaha gacchati means that gacchati is the verb and it is tracking Ramaha. It is denoting Ramaha. This is one possibility. We've gone over this in detail last time. I'm just reviewing it, okay? And the second possibility is that Ramaha pustakam. No, I don't want that. Okay. Suppose even if I said Ramaha pustakam pathati. Pathati is the verb. Ramaha is the agent of reading. But suppose I said Ramena pustakam pathyate. Then it changes. So you'll see examples of it right now. Okay. So what happens here? Now I use Rama. Rama, I use the word Balaka. Okay. Balakaha. Yes. Yes, it is similar to the active and passive voice in English, but I don't want you to start thinking English every time. Okay? Start getting used to two words which you will see now. One is called Kartari Prayoga. Okay? Start getting used to these terms because I will refuse to use English terms after a while. Right? Because this way your mindset will change over a period of time. Otherwise, you'll always try to translate it to English and think about it. Don't do that. Karta. Who is Karta? Karta means the one who does, the agent of doing. Kartari. When the agent is denoted. Prayoga. In a sentence. When the agent is denoted, we call it Kartari Prayoga. If you want to say, agent is denoted. Take it that way. Rather than say active voice, say agent is denoted. I'll be happy with that. Okay? Kartari Prayoga. How does it happen? Balakaha. What is the verb here? Pathati. Pathati means what? What does pathati mean? He reads or she reads. Okay? Or it reads. Okay. It is third person singular verb. This the Roman number 3 means third person. 1 is singular. Okay. This is now a verb in the sentence. It is denoting a noun, and that I have shown in the same color. It is denoting the verb, noun, balakaha. Balakaha means a small boy, a little boy. What is the case and number here? Singular and first case. Okay. Now, suppose I say pathataha. What happens now? What happened now? Two people are reading. Therefore, this verb also has, this noun has to change with that. Becomes balakau. When I say pathanti, there are many people studying, right? Therefore, the noun denoting that the agent of that reading also has to become plural. This is what I mean. When I say it denotes or tracks, you please understand that when the verb's number changes, the noun's number has to change. Is that clear? And I have shown this deliberately here. Whether I said pustakam, or I said pustake, or I said pustakani, which is the object of this dhatu patha, it does not make a difference to balaka. See, suppose that balaka reads one book, he'll say pustakam patati. He reads two books, pustake patati. He reads three books, pustakani patati. But that patati does not change, whether I say pustakam or pustake or pustakani. Clear? This you understand very clearly. This is what is the speciality of Kartari Prayoga. That this verb is not interested in the number of the object. It is not affected by it. What does it track instead? The agent. Tracks the agent of the action, not the object of the action. Okay? Alright. Now, let's take the second, understand the second Prayoga. What is the second Prayoga? In this, the verb is tracking the object of the action indicated by dhatu, not the agent. Okay? So here what will happen? If you try to say number of books increases, then the verb will start changing. Okay? So we say here the object is denoted. Karma in Sanskrit is the object grammatically. Again, we will go over the Paninian definition for this, but karma stands for now you take it as an object of the verb. So karmani prayoga means the verb denotes the object of the action underlying the dhatu. Patha is a dhatu, to study, to read. Therefore, the verb is to read. So now we'll look at the examples. Don't worry about the forms if you don't understand these right now, because the focus here is on this. Pustakam is what now? It is a singular, but it is nominative. Don't say, somebody said accusative here. I don't want to hear that word. Here, that's why I marked it as 1-1, so that you're not confused. Because in a neuter situation, pustakam, pustake, pustakani. Pustakam, pustake, pustakani. Phalam, phale, phalani. Phalam, phale, phalani. Vari, varini, varini. Madhu, madhuni, madhuni. So you will see all the time first two lines are same. Now, the sign of some understanding of this grammar is that you will be able to say when it is the first case and when it is the second case. If you say the wrong thing, then you're doing guesswork. There's 50% chance you're right. But that does not help you when you really want to understand a language. Okay? That 50% will make the difference between your understanding and your misunderstanding. Okay? It's very, very critical. So, whenever you see a neuter, even after years of study, it's better to pay attention. What is it? Is it second case or first case? Because that will make all the difference to your understanding of sentence. One case is an agent, one case is an object. Okay? So here what's happening? Pustakam. Pathyate. The verb here is pathyate. Now you're used to patati. But here it is saying what? Pathyate. Right? So now this is a separate form which is called Atmane Pada. I said, don't worry about the endings right now. Just understand that it goes as, yes. I'm saying first case. I'm specifically saying first case. Yes. The word pustakam can be first case or second case, because what is it? Are you familiar with pustakams? Okay. What are the first two sentences? Pustakam, pustake, pustakani. Pustakam, pustake, pustakani. Right? Okay. See here in the first case, when I'm doing Kartari Prayoga, pustakam is being denoted. No, it is not being denoted by the verb. Okay? What is the verb denoting? Patati is denoting what? What did I tell you it's denoting? It's denoting balakaha, the agent. Whatever the verb is denoting, that noun will go in first case. Okay? Fix this in your head like it shouldn't move, okay? Any amount of pushing and pulling, it shouldn't move. Whatever is denoted, whatever noun is denoted by a verb will go in first case. Blindly you can put it, okay? Don't even think about it. Panini does not say this as a rule. He assumes this and then starts giving other rules. Okay? So, it is a very, very important thing to know. So, here, first thing to understand is this. Pathati. You see the word pathati? Okay. Now look in the sentence and tell me which noun is going in first case. There are two possibilities here. Right? It could be balakaha or it could be pustakam. Okay? Now, when you see pathati, alright, when you see pathati, I didn't intend to go there, but I'm just helping here. You see the form here is pathyate in the second side. Right? That yakara when you see coming, that's called karmani prayoga, typically. Not always, okay? In lat lakara, it becomes like that. So, when that, and it ends in a, see, pathyate. So that is called a atmanepada prayoga. Okay. So when this is a situation, you have a yakara, extra yakara sitting around, then understand that this is very likely to be a karmani prayoga. When you see pathati, be sure that it is kartari prayoga. There is no te ending, there is no ya here. I'm talking purely present tense, lat lakara at this point, okay? Because I cannot tell you everything at one point. So I'm just trying to reduce the scope. So when you say pathati, I'm saying please understand that it cannot be a situation where it's karmani prayoga. It is kartari prayoga, which means the agent alone is indicated by pathati. Then among these two choices, balakaha and pustakam, now you should tell me what can be, see if you say pustakam pathati and you said that pustakam is first case, what does it mean? Pustaka is the agent of reading. Is pustaka ever the agent of reading? It is not. So when I tell you that this pathati is denoting a karta, that word better be the one who reads, okay? So if you said pustakam is the karta, you will have to say pustaka reads. If that is your translation, I'll be okay with what you're saying. But so far as you say no, the boy reads, then that boy is the one who has to come in the first case because the agent of reading. Okay? In the second sentence here, when we're doing the second side, what's happening here? The sentence is, the book is read by the boy. The book is read by the boy. Okay? Now, suppose, so when we say this pustakam is therefore what is being denoted by pathyate. Okay? So when I increase the number of books to 2, since the object number is increasing and the verb denotes it, the verb has to change. It goes to third person dual. Pathyete. Pustake pathyete. And then if there are many books, pustakani pathyante. So you can see that when I'm changing the number on the object, the verb's number is changing. See that? This is what you have to pay attention. What is it that is changing? That which is changing is the one which is denoted. When the verb's number changes, whichever noun changes, that noun is being denoted. And it will always be in nominative, which is first case. Okay? I will hammer this in over and over, okay? Until you get this, my job is not done. Because this is, like I said, step 1. But if you understood this, a lot of things in language later on will be very easy because people have a lot of confusion with kartari prayoga, karmani prayoga, bhave prayoga. All that will help you if you understand just this basic thing. It will take you a long way. Okay? Alright. So then here what am I showing you? Now the agent is who for the reading? The sentence is the same, okay? The boy reads the book. I'm just expressing it differently. Right? So here, whether one book is read by a boy, by 2 boys, or by 3 boys, the verb will not change. The verb will only change if the number of books changes. 1 book, 2 book, or 3 books. Whereas here, whether 1 boy read it, or 2 boys read it, or 3 boys. Okay? So that is a critical thing you have to keep in mind. Any questions? Okay. Oh, too fast. Okay. Now there is another type of prayoga. I have spoken of kartari prayoga, which means the verb is denoting the karta, the agent. Karmani prayoga, the verb is denoting the object. There is a third type of prayoga, which is called bhave prayoga. Okay? Bhave prayoga. See that? This bhave prayoga is a third kind of prayoga which I am not going to go into right now. Okay? We will deal with this. But because there will be some people on the audience who definitely know about the third prayoga, they will say, why are you not mentioning it? So I'm just saying, I'm mentioning it only for the sake of mentioning it right now. I will come back to this a little later. Okay? And this is what I just mentioned to you, that a subanta pada which is denoted by the tinganta pada will always be declined in the prathama vibhakti. And its number will be the same as that of the tinganta pada. Alright? The examples we just saw. Then what else did we look at? So this is one critical thing. We saw subtinganta padam. Second most important thing is this. Just remember this one line. Then we looked at the pratipadika called idam in three genders. Right? Ayam, idam, and iyam. Correct? We saw those three things with the context of ayam ajaha, ayam gajaha, then iyam mala. Right? And the third one was idam patram, or not idani, imani patrani. Okay? There is no idani. If you come up with your own words, you'll be in trouble. You have to memorize it. Imani patrani. Now, what happened there? See, we said ajaha was there. We said ayam ajaha in an infant reader, first exercise. Right? Ayam ajaha. Then I said, how will you say two elephants? Imau ajau. If I want to say many goats, ime ajaha or ime gajaha elephants. Right? So now, what is happening there? That ayam is going in hand with the aja. Right? So the noun and the pronoun are going hand in hand. Pronoun is a special case of a noun alone. Right? A noun must agree with the adjectives or other nouns qualifying it. That is what I'm saying here. Okay? I did not say it in so many words because I wanted you to just understand how the mechanics worked that time when I did the third class last time. I'm clarifying that for you here, saying an adjective which is qualifying a noun will track the noun in terms of its gender, case, and number. Okay? Now, this gender part of it, not always. We will see when it doesn't happen. Gender in Sanskrit is slightly funny animal. Okay? Even Hindi it's the same. All Indian language, I think it's a little funny. So we'll look at it separately. Okay? But at least it will track the noun in terms of case and number. Alright? Example for that is ayam ajaha. Right? Then imau. And then ime gajaha. Okay? So then I'm giving you exactly that example here, so it's clear. Alright? So in masculine what we say? Ayam gajaha, imau gajau, ime gajaha. What am I trying to show here? 1 is ayam. Nominative singular. Pronoun. Pronoun meaning this. What is the pratipadikam? Idam. Idam becomes ayam in the masculine. Nominative singular. Okay? Then imau gajau. What happened here? So the number changed to 2 for the noun. Therefore the number for the gaja also has to change. For the pronoun also has to change. Ime gajaha. Number of gajas changed to plural. Therefore the pronoun also has to change to plural. So what did we see? The first case when I showed you pustakam ramaha pathati, ramau pathatah, ramaha pathanti, or balakaha pathanti. What happened there? The verb and the noun were being tracked. Here, nouns are following each other. If you understand these two concepts, you have again got a huge amount of leg room to move around now, within the language. Because I told you what, entire language has got only 2 types of words. What are they? Subanta pada, tinganta pada. A tinganta pada can only track one noun. So now you know how to get the tinganta pada's case and number, whatever it has, number. That noun it tracks, it has to have it. Everything else in a sentence is what now? Nouns. How should their numbers be? If they qualify each other, they should keep the same number. Okay? So that's how I'm trying to extend your understanding of the sentence. So next example, same concept being extended, but now it's Strilinga. Mala. Mala is what? Strilinga Shabda. Akaranta Strilinga Mala Shabda. Now, when I say Mala, it is singular. Mala, Male, Malaha. Right? So, Mala being singular and Strilinga, I have to take the Pratipadikam idam, the pronoun Pratipadikam idam. And I have to decline it now as a Strilinga. As a feminine. Okay? So we saw that in our Shabda Manjari. Oh, somebody has to keep doing this, I guess, periodically. Yeah. Okay. So this ime mala, sorry, I am mala, sorry. Mala is what I was trying to talk about here, right? So mala is coming from where now? Because this is a nominative singular in feminine for the Pratipadika idam. Okay? If some of you, if any of you are not comfortable with it, you can always open your Dhatu Manjari, because some of you may be a little uncomfortable with what I'm saying. I'm not sure if I'm seeing a happy response on everybody's face. So if you're not getting this, then I don't want you to be lost. Take out your Shabda Manjari. I'll find the page number for you in a minute. And if any of you are getting lost anytime, feel free to raise your hand and let me know, because I don't want you to be lost right now. If you're lost a little later, at least I'll have a hope of redeeming you. If you're lost right now, I can't do anything later, okay? So I don't want you to, you have come with commitment to spend 3 hours. I want you to get everything out of it, okay? So no question is silly, no question is dumb, no question is stupid. If you have a question, please ask. Okay. So now we are going to look at the page. Shabdarupa Manjari or Shabda Manjari is the book I am looking at right now. And I'm trying to find the right page number there. Okay. So page 69. Okay. Page 69, what do you see now? Bottom of the page 69 in Shabda Manjari. Okay. I'm just waiting for everybody to open the pages. So everybody's there? Yeah? Okay. Let me do one more thing here. Give me 1 second. Where is my documents? Yeah. Okay. Okay. For those of you who have trouble with numbers, this is how numbers look like. Okay? Devanagari. Alright? So I just thought some people have trouble with that too. So I'll try to help you. But the best thing that I would suggest for people who are having trouble is just sit with somebody and write your English numbers on all pages. So you will not have to look for Sanskrit numbers. Okay? Because you're learning the whole language, you can make this compromise for now. I don't want you to have to fight a page number every time. Okay? Just write down your English page numbers and be happy. Yes? If you can learn it, I encourage you to learn it. But if that becomes a headache for you or something which you kind of resent, then I'm saying write down the page numbers. I don't want you to focus your energy on a stupid page number. All right? Last thing I want you to worry about is page number. So if you want to write it down. But when I say a page number, you should be able to open that page quickly, because otherwise I'll be finishing half of what I have to say when you'll still be looking for a page number. I don't want you to be there. Okay? So this is just for convenience. All right. So now we'll go back to the real document. Okay. So now, what are we seeing here? Idam Shabda is the pronoun. A pronoun, we'll see that in a minute now, okay? A pronoun is what? Something which can stand in for a noun. Okay? So now, idam stands for this. Now, this in English is very simple. This is the same for everything. But in Sanskrit, that this will change based on its gender. Okay? Therefore, the first one, which is page 69, is what? It is saying Makaranta Pullinga idam Shabdaha, which means when this refers to an object which is masculine. Okay? In English, this, that, etc. are what kind of pronouns? They're called demonstrative pronouns, which means you demonstrate an object. This book, this computer, this mic. Now, every word has a gender, right? Now, I don't know what the gender of mic in Sanskrit, okay? But assuming it is feminine, I can't use this thing in page 68. I have to turn the page to page 69. Sorry, 70, page 70. Page 70, what do you see? Makaranta strilinga idam shabda. Top of page 70. Okay? So what is it showing you now? Makaranta strilinga. So then the line becomes iyam, ime, imaha. Now mala was akaranta strilinga. Right? So since mala is a noun which is being demonstrated by the word this in iyam mala, therefore this idam, the pratipadikam idam, which stands for this, must be declined in strilinga. Therefore, you look at the first conjugation on page 17 here, Shabda Manjari. Okay? Correct, you're on the right book, ma'am. You're on the right book. Just look at page 70, next page after where you were. Okay? Makaranta strilinga idam shabdaha. So that is saying iyam, ime, imaha in the nominative singular. Right? So that is what I'm showing here as iyam mala. Mala was 1-1. And if those of you are having trouble with mala, if you want, in the same book, you can look at page 21. Page 21. Keep your finger on page 70 also. Don't miss that page now. So page 21 is telling you Rama, Rame, Ramaha. So that is exactly how mala runs. Mala, male, malaha. Okay? So mala is nominative singular feminine. Prathama vibhakti ekavachana. Therefore, idam in strilinga, prathama vibhakti ekavachana has to be used. That is iyam. Male is what? Prathama vibhakti dvivachana of akaranta strilinga mala shabda. So, idam has to match that. So, idam you have to take in strilinga and take the prathama vibhakti dvivachana. First case, dual. Okay? Male. So, ime, male. You cannot say iyam male. That is not agreed. Nouns have to match each other. Nouns qualifying each other have to match in gender, case and number. Please hold your question. Okay? Then, imaha, malaha. What's happened now? First case, plural of akaranta strilinga mala shabda. That is the pratipadika. Therefore, the idam has to again go in strilinga. The word this, which is a demonstrative pronoun, has to be declined in also in feminine. And that becomes imaha. That is your first line on page 70. Iyam, ime, imaha. So you see this? Iyam, ime, imaha. Okay? Clear? Okay. Now we move to the next case, which is a neuter gender. Napumsakalinga. What's happening with Napumsakalinga? I took the word phalam. Phalam, phale, phalani. I hope this everybody knows now. Okay? I told people memorize those two, Rama and Phala. If that they haven't done that, then I'm not waiting for you this time. Next time you come, you should know Akaranta also. Alright? That's the only way you'll learn. I'm giving you very little homework anyway. So, phalam, phale, phalani. Now, for phalam, you look at the page 70, second word now. Makaranta napumsakalinga idam shabdah. So, demonstrative pronoun this in neuter gender. Right? So, that runs as idam ime imani, idam ime imani. Right? So, therefore, when it says phalam, which is akaranta napumsakalinga phala shabdah. Okay? I'm repeating this so that some of you may know it and you might find it boring. But for those who don't know, I think I want you to get used to it. Every time you say pratipadika, get used to saying, what is the pratipadika? Right? What is the linga? What is the ending letter of it? So, akaranta napumsakalinga phala shabdah. Shabda is another way of referring to a noun or a pratipadikam. Akaranta. It is akaranta. Get that clear. Is coming as an ending. That's a sopanta. That gets added to make it phalam. Phala is the pratipadikam, not phalam. Pratipadikam is phala, akaranta. When you decline it, it becomes phalam. Okay? So phalam. When you have phalam, therefore now the idam is the pratipadikam. That idam in neuter, nominative singular, happens to again become idam. Okay? Don't confuse the two. I am not using the pratipadikam. In a sentence, you cannot use the pratipadikam. You have to use what? Padam. Padam means what? Suptingantam padam. What does it mean? You have to add the declension ending. Idam is the word formed by adding the declension ending for a neuter case of the pratipadika idam. In this case, it just happens, that the neuter singular first case happens to be exactly the same form as the pratipadikam. Okay? It's coincidence. Don't let that fool you. Okay? Second word is what now? Phale. Phale means what? Two fruits. And what case is it in here? Huh? Actually speaking, there's a trick question because you can't say here. I've not told you what sentence is, okay? You only know it's both of them matching each other. Where it's first or second, it doesn't matter. But right now I'm considering, first case. Alright? But I'm just saying keep that in mind. Unless you see more, you can't tell me what it is. It was just a question to see how alert you are. Alright. So, ime phale. What's happening now? Ime is following phale. So it has to go neuter. First case, dual. Then phalani is what? Bahuvachana, plural. Therefore, idam, ime, imani. Imani is what now? Imani is what? Idam shabda. Makaranta, idam shabda, prathama vibhakti, plural. Bahuvachanam. Okay? This is the way you have to remember words. Then you will find everything has become simple for you after a while. Okay? Just get it in the habit. Make it your practice to keep saying this. Even if you have to say Rama, don't say just Rama Shabda. Akaranta Pullinga Rama Shabda. That's how you have to say it. Okay? So, alright. So I think with that, okay, now I have finished my review for what we have done so far. Okay? Hopefully this helped you come back to where we were last time. Alright? These are the most important points I covered. Now we will start with what I want to do today. Yes. Okay. Your question is going to get answered in a few minutes. The question was, are there other words for the word this? Yes, there are many more. Your question will get answered in due course. Hold it. Okay. Any questions online? Okay. What's your question here?
So you said like the verb tracks the noun has to always come up.
Yes, absolutely.
So same with noun tracking a noun also.
Noun tracking a noun is not that, because a noun can take any case, and that case and gender has to be taken. We'll see that later. Don't have to extend that to noun. All I said about nouns is what? That a noun or an adjective which qualifies another noun must have the same gender, case and number as the noun it is qualifying. I didn't say any restriction on number itself, okay? Case or gender. I just said, I didn't say any vibhakti here. I just said same vibhakti. That's okay. But I'm saying, understand that in nouns, I'm not restricting it. Just keep that in mind, okay? Alright. Now what I want to do is this. Since we were speaking of pronouns, I want to now extend everybody's understanding of what a pronoun is. Alright? That's what this topic is about. So now, alright? Good enough? Okay. So, sarvanama. The word for pronoun in Sanskritam is sarvanama. Okay? What does sarvanama mean? See, in English, what do we say sarvanama? There's no sarvanama in English. You have only in Sanskrit, we have sarvanama. Alright? Sarvanama means what? I have given you a very simple definition. Sarvesham namani sarvanamani. So, Sanskrit definition. What does it mean? That which is the name of all is sarvanama. Okay? Now, whether you're talking of a boy, this boy. Or you're talking of the door, this door. Talking of the computer, this computer. Talking of the room, this room. Talking of the place, this place. Talking of this country. Talking of the universe, this universe. The word this goes with everything, right? So, how does it help us? In one sense, if you look at it, when we are beginning with this language, you don't have the headache of thinking about Rama Shabda is Akaranta, Lata Shabda is Akaranta. You don't have to worry about a lot of things. In this case, you do slightly because I am, etc. But still, let's take only masculine words, okay? If you were dealing only with masculine, see, masculine could have been Rama Shabda, right? Or, as I said, something like Balaka, a boy. Now you take Guru, Ukaranta, Hari, Ikaranta, right? Pitru, Rikaranta. You have to know all these forms to make one silly sentence, right? Suppose you could use a simple pronoun, I am. You could say that for Hari. You could say that for Guru. You could say that for Pita. You can say that for Balaka. You can say it for anything. Makes life very easy, right? So typically, and moreover, see how is our conversation. Suppose I want to describe Pujya Swamiji, okay? Suppose I'm talking about Pujya Swamiji. Pujya Swamiji is a great teacher. Then what? Pujya Swamiji is very tall. Pujya Swamiji came to it. Do I say Pujya Swamiji 100 times? No. After I use Pujya Swamiji once, what do? He. So even if you don't want to, you'll end up having to use pronouns. Pronouns are there in every language. There's no language without a pronoun, I would think. Because otherwise your language will become so unwieldy. Right? So pronouns are a very important aspect. And I'm saying right now, if you look at infant reader, what did we do? Ajaha gajaha we did. But first thing we saw that was idam. Why? Because that word this is going to come all over. Right? So it's good for us to know something more about pronouns. That's why I've started to introduce that here. Okay? So then there is a slightly longer definition I found which I thought was interesting. So I put that here. Yehi shabdaha sarvesham pratipadikanam namani santi. Sarvesham eva namnam yehi karyam sadhyate. Te sarve shabdaha sarvanamani. Now, for those of you who have an interest in learning these things, you learn it. Okay? Those who don't worry about it. This is something which will help you keep the understanding of Sarvanama very clearly in your head. This is a short and sweet definition. Okay? Yes, Deshmukhji. Where? Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll fix that. Thank you. Yeah. So, te sarve shabdaha. No, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Survey is okay. But what I wanted to say was slightly different. Should have fixed it differently. Te eva. Yeah. That's what I want to say. Oh. Which means only those words and not others. Avadharana. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. So, ye shabdaha. Ye means they. Okay. This is another way of you. See, I'm not doing sambhashanam right now for anybody here. But it's another way for you to get familiar with the words. Okay. Ye shabdaha. Ye means those. Ye shabdaha. Those words. What kind of words? Sarvesham pratipadikanam namani santi. Those which are the names, namani. Santi means are. Okay. Those which are the names. Pratipadikana. So, actually the word is Pratipadikam only. It's not Pratipadikam. Okay. So, Pratipadikanam Namani, which is a name for all the Pratipadikas. Means what? Like I told you. For Guru, for Hari, for Pita, for anything I could use the word I am. So, it's one thing which seems to fit everything. That is what is significance. Okay. Then what else? Sarvesham eva namnam yehi karyam sadhyate. Those words by which the use of all these words can be accomplished. When I say he goes, that he can apply to anything, the Guru, anybody. So it can do the work for everybody. Only such words are called sarvanamas. Okay. This is just a beautiful definition to know. Now in English grammar, what do we say? Pronoun is that which stands for a noun. That's all we can say. Now, I just thought at this point I should tell you that a definition, how precise our Shastras were. Okay? A Shastra says a definition should be clinching. But this definition is not clinching. Why? You take the word canine. Is a dog a canine? Yes. Is a wolf a canine animal? Is a lion a canine animal? Yes. Now, no, lion is not called a canine? Okay, only feline. Okay, okay, fine. But I'm saying you have wolves, you have dogs, and you have foxes, right? They're all in that family. Now, can you call a canine a pronoun in English? You can't. Right? So the word to say pronoun is that which stands for a noun is not good enough. It can include things which should not include. Right? So that is something which our Shastra is not Sanskrit, but is just aside. Okay? A good definition should be free from two problems. Avyapti dosha. Okay? Which means it should not be such that it is not including what should. Okay? To take another example. Suppose I say, one second. What would be a good example for this now? Avyapti. A man. Okay. Okay, who is a man? Who is a man? Let's define a man. And I say a man is one who has no horns. Okay? A man is one who has no horns. Is that correct? Seems to be correct. Because I don't have horns. That's correct. But now, does a tiger have horns? Doesn't have horns. But a tiger can be included by it. Okay? That will be again an example for the second one. Is Ativyapti. Okay, I'm just thinking of Vyapti. What would be a good example for it? Basically, the situation is this, that, you should be including everything. I'll probably get one in a moment, okay? But I don't want to just hold it for that. I'm saying a definition which is so precise that whatever it says should fit exactly what it defines and should include nothing more, nothing less. Okay? It should include every member that it can include, but nothing more, nothing less. So avyapti means it does not include something which it should have included. Ativyapti means it includes more than what it should. This is the example of the font. Yeah. A mammal. Yes.
What is a desk? A piece of
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to say anything about the desk yet. And it's a piece of wood shaped like this and black in color is nothing else. Because that's not necessary.
No, it's not exactly. That's not exactly what it is. No, as I give Ativyapti example I give is perfect. The horn thing, it includes man all right, but it includes much more than man. Ativyapti is fine. Avyapti, even that canon example is Ativyapti, where it is including things.
Like a mammal, it will be only mammal. The one piece of mammal. There will be only one. Nothing else will be.
See, but I want to show an example where your definition is falling short. I'm looking for a faulty definition. Okay? We'll get there sometime. But right now I'm not going to the head. I'm not going to worry with that. Because it is an aside. Okay? But now the problem still stands here. This definition of a pronoun, saying a pronoun is that which stands for a noun, I'm saying has this dosha. Okay? How do we solve this problem in Sanskrit? Panini simply says, Sarvadini namani sarva namani. Okay? This is a sutra. What is it? Sarvadini namani sarva namani. What does adi mean? Beginning. Sarvadi means what? No. I knew somebody would say that, but it is not that. Okay? Sarvadi here stands for, it could mean that in some other context, but not here. Sarvadi means a list beginning with the word sarva. A list beginning with the word sarva. Okay? So now, there are a bunch of words which begin with a list. There is a bunch of words which begin with the word sarva. Okay? And that, I will just read that for you. It goes like this. Okay. Sarva, Vishva, Ubha, Ubhaya, Datara, Datama, Anya, Anyantara, Itara, Twat, Twa, Nema, Sama, Sima. It goes like this. Okay? It's a complete enumeration of all, one long list of words. Okay? All those words listed in this list are called Sarvanamas. This is Panini's definition. Okay? Now, you can never have a situation of Ativyapti or Avyapti because he is telling you precisely that list of words which are to be called Sarvanama. Okay? Because in English, if I ask you, tell me all the pronouns, can somebody do that here? But in Sanskrit, if you ask, can you tell me all the pronouns? I can. I don't understand all the meaning, but I'll read it out for you here. It's all here. So far as I have the energy to know them, they're all here. Okay? I'll see later. I actually made a picture, but I don't want to spend time looking for it right now. I'll show it to you later. Maybe after this next class sometime. So, yes. Right. But, huh? See, okay. There's somebody here who's trying to give me help me with an example for Ativyapti, Avyapti. So I'm just trying to understand that. I'll speak again once I hear it. Okay. So you're saying kiwi is the example, right? So kiwi, what's the definition of a bird? First, give me the definition of bird. Okay, so you're defining bird as something which has feathers and can fly. Okay. Now kiwi has feathers. Correct? It cannot fly. Okay. So then it doesn't fit anyway. So it's out of the definition. So it's not a problem. How are you saying it's a bird? Oh, you're saying it's a bird. Okay. Okay. Correct. Good. Good. So you're saying basically a bird is that which has wings and can fly is the first definition. Now that definition has a dosha. Right? Because you're saying there is one bird, which is a kiwi, which has feathers, but cannot fly. So a bird is not only that which can fly, but also something which cannot fly. So then you will say my definition of bird is that which has wings only. That will be proper definition. Correct. So if you took if you defined a bird as that which has wings and fly, that would be a definition which suffers from the dosha of avyapti. Because it cannot include a member like a kiwi which cannot fly. Yes. Okay. No. Look. What? Okay. Okay. Somebody is giving me that even this definition that it can fly is a dosha. Correct. If you define a bird as that which can fly, an airplane also flies. Therefore, it has ativyapti dosha there. Okay. So a lot of things that fly, even a mosquito flies. It's not a bird. Right? So this is where the problem of defining a thing properly is. Our Shastrajñas know this very well. So they have come up with this. Any lakshana, any definition must at least satisfy these two conditions. What are they? Avyapti dosha should not be there. Ativyapti dosha also should not be there. And I am just extending that Shastra knowledge to Vyakarana also and showing you that if I want to define the word Sarvanama, even though I said Sarvasya Namani, it is not a tight definition. It's a good definition, but it's not a tight definition. So I'm showing you how Panini very, very effectively defines it without a problem by saying Sarvadini Sarvanamani. Now you cannot fault it. It's a clean definition. Okay? Thank you. Alright. So then, what happens after that? This Sarvadini Namani means that it's a group or enumerated list of words beginning with Sarva. Are given the name. I'm translating the Sarvadini Sarvanamat. Okay? Nothing more than that. So for those of you who didn't understand that, though I said it in Sanskrit and explained it, it's written for you and it will be available on the web. So you don't have to worry about it. Alright? So Sarvadini Sarvanamani means it is a group or enumerated list of words beginning with the word Sarva. That list is called Sarvanama. That is what this simple Sarvadini Sarvanamani means. It's a defining sutra, Sanya Sutra. And you see this word here, Parisankhyanam. See that? That means it is fully enumerated. Okay? For those of you who know some Panini, some people in the class I know who are registered who know some Panini also. So I want to actually keep everybody interested to some extent and make them also gain something. Parisankyanam is, you will see this in the Vrittis, in Panini Sutra Vrittis, where he will say, it should be told clearly. Okay? Now from here, so the thing is we already saw the example. Pronouns are pratipadikas. Okay? They are in all genders and may decline differently in each. We saw the example of idam just now. Okay? So you've seen the demonstration already before we even went to the definition. Now, and the same holds for, what is the same? That they will be different in different genders. Okay? You will see an example of that also. I don't know if I included it. I think I have it. I have the example right here. It's coming up soon. Okay? Now, in English, what happens? Where there are pronouns and adjectives, okay, they may be unimpacted by the noun they qualify. What do I mean? Take this sentence here. This boy is quiet. This girl is quiet. The world is quiet. 3 sentences here. This and quiet are not changing in all the 3 cases, correct? This is a pronoun, a demonstrative pronoun, and quiet is what? An adjective. In English, they are not changing. In that sense, English is very convenient, right? But in Sanskrit, that word quiet is an adjective. It has a linga. It has a gender. You have to make it follow the gender. Okay? I'm just doing another repetition of the exercise we did just now. So it gets clearer in your head. That if there is a noun which qualifies another noun, and when I say noun, please understand, I mean Subanta Pada, okay? Subanta Pada, every adjective is also Subanta Pada, every noun is also Subanta Pada. Okay? So when one Subanta Pada is qualifying another Subanta Pada, then they have to have the same number, case, and potentially gender. Alright. So now let us look at the example. I'll translate these into in Sanskritam. What happens then? What happens? Look. Ayam balakaha shantaha asti. That is the masculine. What is ayam? Makaranta pullinga idam sarvanama shabda. Now I'll add one more word to it. Idam sarvanama shabda. Okay? Why? Because makaranta till now what did you understand? Just makaranta. Okay? But a makaranta shabda will not decline exactly like idam shabda. Because idam is a sarvanama shabda. Why did I have to introduce a separately pronoun? Because I have a purpose. Okay? I'm not doing it for fun. I'm doing it because you need it. Alright? So I'm adding one more definition to your definition now. That when it's a sarvanama, you have to add one more word there. Makaranta pullinga sarvanama idam shabda. Or idam sarvanama shabda. Either way you want to say it, I'm okay with that. Okay? But it's sarvanama shabda. Keep that in mind. It's a pronoun. Sarvanama is pronoun. Now, so of that, prathama vibhakti ekavachana is ayam. Okay. Balakaha is what? Akaranta. Balaka shabda ekavachana and prathama vibhakti. Right? Shantaha. What is Shantaha now? What is the Pratipadikam? Shanta is the Pratipadikam. What is this now? Shanta is also Akaranta Pullinga Prathama Purusha Ekavachana. Why? It is qualifying Balakaha. So whatever is holds for Balaka, same should hold for Shanta. Okay? So I am Balakaha Shantaha Asti. Clean? Now I'm going to change second sentence I'm taking from here. First I took this boy is quiet. Okay? Now I'm going to do this girl is quiet. What happened now? Unlike English, where this and quiet remained unchanged, here I am did not remain I am anymore. It became yam. And Shanta became Shanta. Okay? You see what's happening? Shanta is an adjective to Bala. Iyam is an adjective to Bala. Iyam happens to be a pronoun. Shanta is not a pronoun. That's the only difference between them. Clear? Third example. Jagat is Napumsakalinga. It's a neuter word. Therefore, idam becomes idam. Idam shabda, idam, sarvanama shabda, prathama purusha, ekavachana. Right? And shantam is, what is shantam now? What is the pratipadikam? Akaranta, napumsakalinga, shanta shabda. Prathama vachana, prathama vibhakti, ekavachana. Clear? Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. Correct. Okay. Let me repeat the question for the people on the call. Question here is this, or observation rather, right? Is that the balakaha, bala and jagat are three different, completely different pratipadikas, three different noun bases. But shantaha, shanta and shantam have the same pratipadikam, which is shanta. Okay? They are all akaranta, shanta pratipadika only. But what is changing? The gender is changing. And remember, though these don't look like shantaha, shantam, etc., this ayam, iyam and idam are exactly in the same boat. They all share the same pratipadika, makaranta, idam. But the gender changes, therefore the form changes. This is exactly what I want you to observe. If you observed that, I'm very happy. Okay? Because that is exactly what you have to catch. Because this is how you will be able to construct sentences which are meaningful. If you see, because people in this class have asked me, there was one question also saying, will we ever hear a class when everything will be said in Sanskrit? First, I think I'm not ready for that yet, to be saying everything in Sanskrit. Because my job is to communicate. And if I said everything in Sanskrit, then only I'll be saying it. Firstly, I'm not sure I can say it even. And even if I did, I'll be only saying it to myself and the walls around here. So no, that day is not coming anywhere nearby. If somebody is looking for that day, you can as well quit goodbye right now. And the second thing is this. There were a lot of people who have said, our goal is to learn spoken Sanskrit. I want to make it very clear at this time that maybe in some classes when you know some language, you can attempt some spoken Sanskrit. But this will not necessarily provide a forum for spoken Sanskrit, at least at this point in time. As time goes on, if there is sufficient interest and we have people who are qualified enough to handle that, we might have a separate session for spoken Sanskrit sometime. Okay? That may be done like half an hour, 1 hour, one session we might give to it. But as of now, at least for the next 3-4 classes, I don't see it happening. Let's get our fundamentals straightened out. Then you will all speak something reasonable. Otherwise, I see people writing Sanskrit sometimes which is all atrocious. I don't want any one of you to do that atrocious business. Understand some things and then go with it. Okay? So this is clear. What is the rule? A noun which qualifies another noun will or must match in gender, case and number. As I said, gender may be different. Okay. Now, enumeration of words in the various groups. Okay, we have another 10 minutes. Good. What did I say just now? I told you Sarvadi, Sarvanamani, right? When I said all the pronouns in one group called Sarva group are listed, Sarva, Sarva, etc. And that is called Sarvadi group. Such a list, there is a work of Panini which includes all such lists. Okay? This is just a list of pronouns. But there could be a list of samasas, there could be a list of something else, list of something else. Anything which he needs to enumerate is a list to him. Okay? And a group or a list is called a Gana. What is it called? Gana. So Ganapati is what? Pati of a Gana. Gananam Patihi Ganapatihi. Okay? So it's just a group. Group of what? We have to know about. So here, Gana, all the Ganas are groups of words. What those group words may stand for, we are not talking about right now. But, see, Panini essentially, for those of you who know programming should know, we declare data types. Right? Data types, what do we do? Sometimes you have enumerated data types. Suppose I want to declare a enumerated data types called domestic animals. What would I do? Cat, dog, python, whatever. You have to list all of them, right? Fish. So all of those listed is one complete set you're listing, right? That's enumeration. That's exactly what Panini is doing in his Ganapatha. He lists all possible words. for a given set. And I think last time I mentioned to you, Panini is all set algebra. So you should know how to do set-based operations and which set has what. So members of a set are being stated. A Gana is a very convenient mechanism to state the members of the set. Okay? So I gave you one example of Sarva, where I read a bunch of things, right? I don't want to do that again. But I read a bunch of things. Same way, there are several such lists, hundreds of such lists. So what did he do? He created a supplementary work called Ganapatha. Ganaha pathyante asminiti Ganapatha. Ganas are read in this. Or I can say Ganaha pathyateti Ganaha, I can say. Which means that groups are read, therefore it is Ganapatha. Either way the etymology will work out. That in which it is read or that which is read. Right? So Ganapatha is the name of a work of Panini, which is nothing but hundreds of groups of words. And those groups all have a name, like Sarvadi, Mayura Vyamsakadi, Tyadadi, Tudadi, Ajadi. He will have words like this. As soon as you find that Adi, you should know that he is referring to a group starting from there. Because in the older times, people just learnt everything by heart, right? So they will learn like this. Sarvada, with Swaras also it will be there. So now if you say Sarvadi, he can immediately rewind and go to that point and come back. He doesn't need any book. Sarvadi will come to his mouth. And they have managed to Swaras very nicely. Unfortunately, a lot of these things are now looked up. They don't happen anymore. So we need our book which says Sarvadi, where is it? Look for it, find it. But there are books. There's a book called Paniniya Ganapatha. If you buy that, you will find a list of all groups like this. Okay? Now, so Sarvadi, as I said, is one example of such a group. What is Dhatu Patha? I want to extend your understanding now. Okay? Dhatu Patha is a listing of roots. Okay? It is also a listing, a serial listing. It is also a group of roots. But for whatever reason, probably because roots are so important to us in the language, it has been made into a separate work called Dhatu Patha. It is nothing but an enumerated list of 2,200 or so, approximately 2,200 roots in the language. That is called Dhatu Patha. Clear? So I'm just telling you that Ganapatha and Dhatu Patha are words you will see in the Paninian literature. You just need to know what they are. And also helps you to look when you want to find something where you can go and look. Wherever you see some Tadadi, Tudadi, etc., you should know. It's either referring to Dhatu or it's referring to a Gana. That's it. Go and look for them if you need to. Okay? So there is another work called Linganushāsanam. Okay? Apart from these, see, I have mentioned something here. Paniniya Sutra Patha. Paniniya Sutra Patha is basically those 4,000 sutras of Panini. I told you last time that the 4,000 sutras written by Panini cover the entire language. That sutras are read in that, right? So it's called Sutra Patha. So Panini has done it, therefore Paniniya Sutra Patha. Now, that Paniniya Sutra Patha will refer to Sarvadi. What did we see here? 5 minutes ago, one sutra we saw. What did we see? Sarvadini Sarvanamani. Good. Whoever said that was very good. Sarvadini Sarvanamani. Very good. So that is sutra number 1126 in Panini's word. Now, this sutra is incomplete unless you know what is Sarvadini. Correct? Therefore, this Ganapatha is an essential appendage to the Sutra Patha. Like an appendix. Or if you're looking at your programming word, it's like a hash include stdio.h. Okay? That's what it will be. So you just include a header file, you get everything from there. Similarly, Dhatu Patha is like another header file. It is another appendix. Because he will say Divadibhyam Shyan. Divadibhyah Shyan. Okay? Means for a group which is called Divadi, there will be a pratyaya called Shyan. What is Divadi? How do you know? Go to Dhatu Patha. So without Dhatu Patha, it will make no sense to you. So Dhatu Patha and Ganapatha are essential additions or essential extensions to the Panini Sutra Patha. Without Panini Sutra Patha, you cannot talk of Dhatu Patha. And when the Sutra Patha is there, you need Dhatu Patha and Ganapatha wherever it's referenced. Clear? Similarly, I'm saying there's something called Linganushasanam. Linganushasanam is what? A work of Panini which gives you directions about how the genders are managed in the whole language. Genders are very sticky, difficult to handle, but the entire gender business is available to you, treated in a separate work called Linganushasanam. So the Sutra Patha, Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha, Linganushasanam, all of these are called Upadeshaha. What are they called? Upadeshaha. Upadesha means that which was said long ago, which was available right in the beginning. Adyucharanam Upadeshaha. I have said this before, I'm repeating it, just for Mukhasukhartham and for your Shravanasukhartham. Adyucharanam Upadeshaha. That which was said in the beginning is called Upadesha. So all these, Sutra Patha, Gana Patha, Dhatu Patha, Linganushasanam, they are all called Upadesha. There is one more called Unadi Patha. Okay? Unadi Patha. That is another one which is also included Upadesha. Okay? So I'm kind of giving you bits and pieces in there, and I'm trying to connect so that it's easy for you to recall what I'm talking about. Now, so we saw all this already. So let me go down. Now I want to help you connect certain things. Okay. Pronouns. We saw pronouns, right? Because where did I come here from? I started with pronouns, okay? Don't forget the trail. Pronouns I started with. What does it define pronouns as? Sarvadini, Sarvanamani. What is Sarvadini? It's a group or a list beginning with Sarva. What is a group called? Gana. Gana. What is the work when all the groups are included? Gana Patha. What is like Gana Patha? Dhatu Patha. Okay? What else is in Upadesha? Unadi Patha, Linganushasanam. Okay? This is what the connection was. Just you're wondering why I went all over the place. I didn't go all over. I'm just connecting things which are easily connectable by you. Because I need a context to present these things. Okay? Now, I'm coming back to pronouns, Sarvanam. Having gone with definition, I'm coming to the slightly more details about it. Examples of some pronouns. SM stands for what? Anybody want to take a guess? Shabda Manjari. Okay? This will be my short form. SM stands for Shabda Manjari. One of the references listed for this class. DM will stands for Dhatu Manjari. Good. Alright. So we'll go with that. So wherever possible, I'll put numbers down for you. So page 58 of Shabda Manjari gives you a lot about pronouns. Idam. Now look at this. Idam means what? We did this already. This. Something which is near to you. Okay? What is etat? Another pratipadikam. Okay? I'm giving only pratipadikas here, not the forms. Etat is another pratipadikam. Don't look for page 58 right now. You don't need it. What you need is on the board, on the whiteboard right now. But this is a reference for you to do further homework when you go back home. So you can read up more, understand it better. Okay? Etat is what? Now another pronoun which means this. But this is referring to something which is nearer than that would be referred by idam. Okay? For example, I could say, this monitor. I am, assuming it's a masculine, okay? I am monitaraha, whatever it is, okay? But this is closer. So, eshaha, mic. I am monitor, eshaha, mic. Eshaha is the nominative singular of etad. Etad, yeah, pulling. Okay? So, when it's closer, use the word etad. The pratipadikam is etad. Just like idam, remember that etat is just a pratipadikam. Therefore, you will have separate forms for pullinga, strilinga, and napumsakalinga. That is why page number 58 is given to you. So you don't have to ask me that question. I am not going to talk about it. Okay? That people can look up. Then you have the next situation. Adas. Adas is another pratipadikam. What does that stand for? Not this, but that. That means what? Somewhat distant. But it is something within my visual range. Or audible range, whatever. It's within range. That is called that. Right? Asau. Asau Aditya. Okay? But then we have another word for that, which is called tad. That's another Pratipadikam called tad. What does tad mean? That. But that which is remote, which is not in sight. What is the most common example for us? Tat Tamasi. Why? Because God is not anywhere around. That's where we start. Ishvara, where is he? What does Swamiji say? Where is he is a wrong question. Never answer a question which is, will you walk in front of a bunch of fools or behind a bunch of fools? Right? So same way, where is God is a wrong question. What's the right question? What is God? It's the right question. Because when you understand what is God, then you will not ask the question, where is God? Right? So, tat means what? Something remote. Right? So we say tat ishvaraha, tat jagat karanaha, that cause of everything in the world. So the whole notion is Ishvara is something remote to us, something which we are not, which is not locally available, which we have to look up to. Right? Literally look up. Heaven. Andavane means you look up. Right? That's how it is. But then what is the reality? Tat Tvam Asi. What is Tvam? You. Immediately available here and now. So that Tat therefore shows in fact the remoteness also. Okay? But Surya is not Tat. Surya is what? Asau Adityaha. Asau Chandrama. Right? So this is the way we will say. So this is the question you were asking me earlier. That there are other words for this? Yes, there are, and they are covered here now. Now, if you are more curious, there's a very nice little 2-line verse. You can memorize it. Okay? Which tells you exactly these things. I have said it in plain words. If you want, you can look up a verse. I didn't put it down here. Okay? You'll find it exactly in that page 58 onwards. Somewhere you'll find it there. Okay. Then, another very useful pronoun. Asmad. Asmad is a pronoun which runs like aham, avam, vayam, mam, avam, asman, maya, avabhyam, asmabihi. Now, when you're looking at this aham shabda, So, when you're looking at that, you have to bear in mind some extra forms also. Okay? We'll go over that because time now. We'll close this class and we'll continue from where we're leaving now. So, I will cover this asmad, yushmad, bhavat, kim, yat, and then continue beyond this after that. Okay? So, we'll close this class right now and we'll come back at 4:30. And for those of you who are online, please make sure you log out and log back in with a new password. Okay? Not the same password. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamstu.